Hey guys, if this is how you're finding my channel because you looked up the disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, then welcome, hello. This is not a super formal video. I just was driving home from like an hour-ish away and decided to turn on voice memos and just talk about this movie because I really loved it. I just drive home and talk, and it's mostly just for my friends. So it's extremely informal. The points in here are not organized. But I do ask that you maybe give it a chance, because I think that there's a just absolute dearth of people talking about really interesting things from the disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya on YouTube. I think I've talked about a couple interesting things that are in the movie, and I personally am not the kind of person to be driven to make like a video essay about it. So you're in for something that you definitely need 2x speed for. But I think there's some interesting things in here, and I think that you'll gain something from it if you are just interested in the movie. So yeah, enjoy. And next is something for like talking to my friends. So bye. Hey guys, so if you haven't seen The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya or The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, you have to watch both of them before you watch this. If you are loyal Penguin and you're listening to every PEGCAST and you have not watched both of these anime and you watch this PEGCAST and you listen to it, I'll be sad. Because I really want to talk about these things with my friends, right? I want to talk about this beautiful movie with my friends. I want to talk about this beautiful TV show with my friends. So if you listen to this and you get big spoilies before watching these shows, I'll be unironically sad about it. I'll be sad. So please. Oh, also, if you're just joining the channel, if you haven't watched before, I forgot to say this, I'm going to be playing a game called Fast Penguin. It's just in the background. Like, you're just going to see penguins sliding down a hill, basically. It's like Subway Surfers. Bye! Enjoy episodes. Bye! Hello everybody, bringing you for some more stuff, and today I'm remembering to turn Bluetooth off. Sorry about last time, everybody. I've got a lot to talk about. I've got the disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya to talk about. I've got the travel to Japan to talk about. I've got a lot to say. I just hope I remember to say it, you know? Oops, I should not have started to go. I gotta put in my directions. Okay. Off we go. Yeah. So what's up, guys? Good morning, if you're watching this right when it drops. Hope you're excited. Just now, I recorded the beginning of a Thursday review, so I hope that you guys are hyped about that. Yeah, I hope you guys are excited about the Thursday review. You've probably seen it by now. I don't know if you have, but it's the probiotic gummies. Cammy got them for me, so that's pretty awesome. But yeah, so I finally watched The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, which is what I left you hanging on that cliff about. And what was so exciting about that for me is, like, I've wanted to watch the movie forever, and the reason is I'm, like, super obsessed with Haruhi, right? Like, I think it's such a well-crafted and interesting show. Like, it's a cool premise, and it's executed really well. It has really, like, strong characters, you know? And, I decided, so I had, like, book club with, Cammy, Dusty, and Maya. So I really didn't have that much time to watch, but I really wanted to, and this was like my one chance. So I decided, like, screw it, I'm gonna do it. Like, let's let's get this going. Let's get this on the road, you know? So I decided to watch it, even though I was going to be watching it like right up to when the book club started. So, you know, that was my decision. Was that wise? Like, probably not, but it ended up okay. This is a long movie, man. Like, especially for one that's animated. Like, they did not cut corners to sell you a movie, you know? They just made some art and called it a day. So, oh my god, the sun is so bright. I gotta get my sunglasses. Now I'm at the light that's like extremely long. Okay. So, yeah, I decided to watch the movie, and, you know, I have ranted on the PEGCAST before. Also, obviously, spoilers for this movie up ahead. I've ranted before on the PEGCAST about, like, how cool it is that that Nagato is as she is in the show. So, you know, it's like, it's cool. It's cool to me because she's like, you know, she is she's like the human manifestation of the thought entity, which is like a purely information-based people, if that's like the way that one would put it. There's like no delineation between people. It's just like pure information is all there is. So there's like, you know, Nagato by all means should not be like emotional or have a personality or necessarily enjoy doing anything, because there's nothing subjective in her reality. Because everything for her is just straight, pure information, right? Or at least that's what's going on here. Sorry guys, if you hear like clanging or anything, like ceramic clanking, it's because Cami and I went to a sale for like, it was a Zwilling warehouse sale, which apparently is like a warehouse sale on wheels. So they were selling some stuff at pretty good prices. We bought some like ceramic cookware. So we have like 3 ceramic dishes of different sizes, and then a pie tin, like a ceramic pie tin, and then we have like a big chopping knife that I don't really know what it's supposed to be used for, but for us it's used for like anything big, like a melon or etc., you know. And we got a bread knife also. So that's like all the stuff we got, but I'm taking all that back right now with me to stash it under my bed for like a month until we move in together, which is crazy. So, you know, that's what's up with that. Right, but so I like really like that Nagato enjoys reading. Because, you know, like at first thought it's like, or when you first meet Nagato, you're like, oh, she's just like stoic, emotionless, like robot kind of character that just sits in the corner and reads all the time. But she has like goodness, sorry. She has control over like basically everything, you know, because she can like manipulate the information in the area. So, you know, with that, she could like change literally anything, and she theoretically knows like literally everything. But what's cool is that she reads the books. And why that's cool to me is theoretically she like should already have the capacity to just know the whole story. But Nagato, as like the humanoid form that was sent down to like communicate with people, essentially, by the thought entity. Nagato is like, it's a humanoid interface is what they call her. So she is like how you would use like your like laptop's icons to interface with like the different like applications and things that are like on your computer. Nagato is like a humanoid interface, as in like you can interact with her as a human so that you can communicate to and fro with the thought entity. And what I think is so cool is that like in creating a humanoid interface, they have to like replicate what humans are, and humans have like these intrinsic emotional like drives and feelings and whatnot. And so Nagato is like driven to read books at the pace that a human would read them. So like there are moments where Nagato will like parse through just literally an inhuman amount of information in like a millisecond, right? She'll like read through all the lines of code of something and then be like, oh, this is the problem, and then she'll like fix it in a millisecond. But when she reads a book just as any other person would read a book, right? And that kind of keys you in to the fact that even though she comes across as really stoic and says that she doesn't feel anything, like she does have human desires and feelings, etc. And that's just something that like I've never seen talked about anywhere. Now, of course, this is like I haven't really dug that hard to find stuff because I've been worried about spoilers, because I hadn't seen the movie yet. But it's like something really fascinating that I caught on to that I just like, I don't know that that's like a thing that people talk about. Because you see Nagato read all the time. And in the last or second to last episode of the anime, I think it's the episode called Someday in the Rain, but I might be wrong. One of the final episodes of the show, there's just a scene of Nagato sitting there reading a book, and it goes on for something like 5 minutes, I think, like in total during the episode, of Nagato just reading a book, and that's like all she's doing. Sorry guys, I gotta make sure I know where I'm going. Yeah, I do. So, you know, like, that's really cool to me that there's, like, so much time on it, and it's like, okay, well, like, why am I watching this? And first of all, it's just, like, artsy and cool, and it kind of, like, leaves you to sit, and think about all of the relationships and ways in which the characters have changed over the course of the series. And leads you to think about, like, their motives and their, like, relationships with one another, like, how things relate to each other. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. And other people think it's just, like, boring or something. But, you know, that, I think is meant to at least direct you to the fact that, like, you know, Nagato's reading. Maybe I'm wrong. But also, in the Endless 8, which is another arc, Nagato experiences everything in that universe for just some uncountable number of repetitions, like hundreds of thousands of repetitions, and she experiences the same 2-week-long period that many times without really being able to connect with people, because she is the only person that, like, understands what's happening and has memories of all that time. And so she is like really lonely, right? And I just remember like screaming into the PEGCAST about how it's so beautiful that like Nagato has this emotion in there, and like you can see it when she reads. And then the Endless Eight, I think, is supposed to also draw attention to the fact that like, you know, no one is really there for her. Like, they're trying to solve this problem and they're relying on Nagato to help, kind of, but she can't just fix this problem for them, and there's no one like really to help her either. Because even if they fix the problem, they won't have fixed the problem that Nagato has been suffering through, which is that she's just been repeating this forever. And so that loneliness is like the catalyst of the next film, of the film that I just watched. Not the next film, but the film. The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya. And I just felt like that was so awesome, because this is the part of Haruhi that I personally like latched onto the most recently. Like, there are other like really awesome parts of Haruhi. I really like watching how Haruhi and Kyon's relationship blossoms. I like to see how Kyon as a character changes, and like I like to see how he, like, I don't know, it feels like the whole time he's like a really unreliable narrator. And so it's cool to see like Kyon having to basically, like, he keeps hiding from the fact that he also likes all the stupid stuff that Haruhi likes, essentially. Like, that he also thinks that aliens, espers, and future people are cool. And Haruhi just, like, openly thinks that they're awesome, and Kyon is like, this girl is crazy, but, like, secretly he loves all those things. And seeing that kind of, like, cognitive dissonance that he creates, and how he tries to, like, justify it by deciding subconsciously that he's dragged into it by Haruhi. And he, like, plays this character, even though it's so obvious that he feels the other way, and, you know, etc., blah, blah, blah. I think there are a lot of beautiful parts of the show, but my favorite part at the time that I was recording the PEGCAST, where I screamed about it, was how Nagato is, like, this emotionally deep character, that, like, just the fact that she has emotions at all is, like, so philosophically interesting, because, like, it's a thought entity, it's an interface. Like, what is it about humanity that causes us to have emotions? And it's like, it's a core tenet of what it means to be similar to human, I think, is what is kind of said by Nagato having this experience, right? It's like, okay, you're not just information, even if you're like a humanoid interface, you're humanoid. Like, you are a person, and as such, you are emotionally, you know, like, emotions have a large hand in your decision making and thoughts and etc. So I know this isn't really clear, and I'm talking in circles a lot, but the reason why is I didn't organize my thoughts beforehand, and I also don't have the time to organize them because I'm driving. I'm focused on driving. And everybody knows you have to practice safe driving, everybody. You have to practice safe driving. Yeah, so basically, this movie starts off, and, you know, there's, like, the first day, and everything is normal, and they're like, we're gonna do a Christmas party, because it's a Christmas movie. And, also, Nagato's first name, or her, like, given name, is Yuki, and Yuki means snow. And this is cool because it's isolating, right? It's like her name is Snow, which means kind of like cold and like muted and impersonal, you could say, you know? Like cold. I could have just left it at that. But, you know, there's like some symbolism in there. And so, you know, whatever, man. Like, it was... Sorry, what am I saying? So, Nagato... Oh, right. So the first day happens, blah, 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 it's a Christmas movie, and then the second day happens, and Haruhi is completely gone. She's completely missing. Like no one remembers that she ever existed except Kyon. Nagato isn't an alien. Mikuru isn't a time traveler. Koizumi and Haruhi aren't even at the same school. Like, fundamental changes to the world have been made. There's something going wrong, and Kyon has to figure it out, and he's desperate to figure it out because he wants the world to return back the way it was. And I think that, you know, I watched a couple video essays about the movie, and both of them just like scraped the surface of it and said nothing of real value. I say both, all of them. None of them said anything really of any like substantial value, except for the ones that talked about like the ways in which certain things were portrayed. But none of them like really got into the story and said anything that was like particularly interesting or valuable. And they're all basically saying, hey guys, this movie is portraying itself as a story about Kyon and Haruhi, because Haruhi is missing and Kyon wants her back. And it is about that in part. There's a beautiful thing in this film about, the way that this film handles Kyon coming to realize that the way that he's so desperately searching for a way to get back to his world is proof enough that he actually really does like the everyday life that he has with Haruhi, and he wants to get back to it. And that's done really, really elegantly. I think it's nice because, you know, there's a scene where he's fighting with himself, and like there's a self that is like physically asking a second self in like a, you know, like a non-literal but like metaphorical sequence. Kyon is asking Kyon, like, don't you find it fun spending every day with Haruhi like this? And what I think is really interesting is like that is still kind of like, it's still kind of dissonant, you know? Like, Kyon is saying, like, don't you like spending time with Haruhi? Like, don't you think it's fun being dragged around by Haruhi? But he's still ignoring the fact that, like, it's not just Haruhi. He's, like, totally, like, he's got some real Chinibyo going on. Like, he's super obsessed with the idea that, like, there are aliens and there are supernatural things. And he, like, thinks that those things are so awesome and interesting and cool. But he's still attributing it all to Haruhi, right? And it makes sense to partially attribute it all to Haruhi, because Haruhi is the cause of it, and Haruhi also is like, he clearly has a thing for Haruhi, right? So when he's saying this, like, don't you find it fun? It's like, okay, yes, like, I hear you, but he's still being like holier than thou and like writing or not holier than thou, he's being pompous. Not like demeaning to anyone, but he's being pompous and being like, don't you find it fun? And like the one Kyon like steps on the other one's head, you know, like he I don't know, I can't describe the pose that he does. I'm not artistically inclined enough, but he like tries to make it out to be this cool thing where he like decides definitively that future is fun and that's what matters. Or that timeline is fun and that's what matters. But in doing so, he kind of like ignores that he likes all the other things too. And a big part of why he's going back is like Nagato and Mikuru. Like, these are also friends that he has that he really cares about, that are not acting the same way in this world that he's in, where Haruhi isn't at the same school, like Haruhi is missing. And like all of these things are what causes him to want to fix the world, quote unquote. Like, when he speaks with Nagato in this world, she's like friendly and wants him to be a part of the literature club, obviously, and like tries to connect with him. But instead of wanting like to spend time with this version of her, like one of the driving forces is he wants to go back to the timeline that he was from and like right his wrongs with the actual Nagato. Because like just spending time with this different Nagato isn't good enough when he hasn't been there really for the Nagato who's been there to help them so many times. And like he recognizes this, whether it's consciously or not. He recognizes this long before it comes to a head in the film. And like definitely wants to spend more time with Nagato as a person rather than just spending time like kind of like physically with her. And so when he says that the future is fun, he's kind of like simplifying everything still and trying to make himself not seem like a sap to himself. And I just think that like dissonance is really fascinating. But whatever. These video essays that I'm talking about are saying like this movie frames itself as being about Kyon rescuing Haruhi, and the way that Kyon like accepts that he actually does love the daily hijinks, and like he overcomes that dissonance that he is always shown, where he says that he doesn't like Haruhi but actually he does, which I think is only half of it. That's what I've been talking about. But actually, the video essays say this is a movie about Nagato and how she is so lonely and depressed, and like she needs help and she's not getting it. And it's like, I don't know if that's supposed to be like a huge cool twist, or if these video essays are supposed to be like, because you know, sometimes you'll watch a video essay and you'll be like, oh cool, like you're drawing connections with different parts of this media than I would have as a casual viewer. But this plotline that they're telling me about, where it's like secretly about Nagato, is not like in the background of the film, or like difficult to find, or like, you know, it's, I don't know, it's the A plot is basically what I'm saying. The A plot is Nagato is freaking sad and lonely, and that has caused the whole conflict. Like it's the cause of the entire conflict of the film, that Nagato is lonely and unhappy, and Kyon has to kind of like figure out how to help her when she's been helping them so much. So when I'm watching these video essays and they're like, this is actually a movie about Yuki Nagato, and that's why when the snow falls it's so beautiful, and it's like, girl, like that's not like some symbolism that you found. The snow is falling and he's like, the snow, and Nagato is sitting there imagining that he's talking about the snow that's falling. But then she finds out, essentially, oh, he's talking to me. And it's like, oh, I'm being recognized, like, as myself. Like, I'm being seen and cared for. Right? That's the whole resolution of the film. You're not, like, making a video essay about this and teaching me things. You're just explaining the plot. It's just a summary. Like, when I was in middle school, when I was in elementary school, and my teacher was like, don't just summarize the book, you have to say something. Like, this is what they meant. They meant don't just summarize the book. We're just summarizing it right now. And that just really, like, it, for lack of a better word, it grinded my gears, okay? Because this is a beautiful film. This is a beautiful, artful, tasteful film. Every emotion is painstakingly drawn so beautifully across the faces of these characters. I can feel the panic when Kyon realizes not only that, you know, the world isn't what he thinks it is, but that Haruhi isn't there. And that he's like postponing the fear that he has that he's a crazy person. He postpones the fear that no one in the entire world will understand what he's like. He doesn't even come to face these kinds of horrifying mortal questions, you know? He doesn't even think about them. All he does is worry about, where is Haruhi and how can I fix this? Like, where is Haruhi? And you can see just the anxiety and the pain and the fear and the, like, disgust for himself and the circumstances all written all over his face. It's so beautifully done. The fear that he feels when Asakura walks in the room is like insane. It's insane. Is it foreshadowing? I don't know. Or is he just like having a panic attack? We're talking in 2020, like 3 or something, about how animated films are starting to do panic attacks really well, right? We were talking about, like, guys, the best animated movie of all time is gotta be Puss in Boots 2. People were saying this, and they were like, nah, because the emotion and the story is good, and the fight scenes are awesome, and it's epic, and the emotion is so good and real. When Puss in Boots has a panic attack, is so real. You should go watch this movie. It came out years ago. And it does it even better. You can feel the pain, man. This movie spawned so much. It spawned so much. It's amazing. It's beautifully done. Even if you, like, dude, people say, I looked it up. I was like, do you have to watch The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya before The Disappearance? And people online were like, nah, not really. It stands alone, like, as a really strong film. No, it doesn't. The plot references like a billion different things that are all like core, like, it doesn't stand on its own at all. It's just straight up the next arc from the anime. But you know why people say it does? Because it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's like, it's insane. Just the emotion and the way that you can tell what these characters are thinking and feeling from the way that they're interacting with each other. And you can kind of guess at the plot, right? Like, you can understand what's happening. You can understand the dynamics between these people as long as you pay attention, because it's written all over their faces and they're so... So it's a really good movie, is really what I'm trying to say. It's just so masterfully done. It's so masterfully done. Everybody in the world says that it's the best friggin' anime movie that they've ever seen. Okay? Every person that's seen it says, yep, this is the best anime movie I've ever seen. And the reason they say that is because it's the best anime movie they've ever seen. Just unbelievable direction. It's so amazing. Like, dude, and I've just got no one to talk with about it. You know how that feels, Penguins? You know how that feels? So here's what happened. I watched The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya. The gist of this movie is, and please, spoilers, right? You know, I've already said it. The gist of this movie is that, like, there's a timeline mess up, right? So, Nagato, who ordinarily is extremely shy and stoic because she is under the impression that she does not have emotions, we find out through watching Haruhi that this is a misnomer, that Nagato is wrong about not having any emotions, and you can tell this as early as the first episode if you look at the way that she reads, and you can tell this throughout the Endless Eight, where it becomes more and more of a pressing issue. Excuse me. You can tell this in The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, when it comes to a head in the movie, and she feels that there was a malfunction in her code, and she says that this was an unavoidable error. And she felt like it was literally, like, essentially fate. Like, the way that the math worked out was just that it would happen eventually. But Kyon understands it to be emotion, as we, the audience, do. There are all these ways to tell that, you know, she's wrong. Whatever. I just think that's beautiful. So, instead of her being stoic because she is under the impression that she has no emotion, in this alternate universe, she's just shy, and likes books, right? And, like, Mikuru is, like, the same person, but without, you know, the sort of, like, drive and like, responsibility and sense of reliability that you get because she knows that her mission is so important. And Haruhi is the same. And Koizumi is still mysterious, but I would say because he doesn't have as much of a place to fit in to the world, he doesn't exactly know how he belongs. He has a much less holier-than-thou kind of vibe to him. And he seems a lot more lost and, I would say, frightened by the prospects of just generally life-changing. And what's interesting is that's who he is in... Okay, hold on. Sorry. I have to go back to this. I'll get back to what I was just saying in a minute. Koizumi, in both timelines, is extremely afraid of change. And in one timeline, this comes about with him... his dissonance where he, like, avoids this, like... I don't really... You know what? I don't know enough philosophy to be able to explain this to you. But there's a lot of philosophy that goes into the understanding of the way that Haruhi as a series kind of operates, right? So, Koizumi has a fear of death that is characteristic of all living things. And humanity has a really full understanding of death, just due to their, like, advanced processing power and language ability. This is real life what I'm talking about. We all have a significant fear of death, and somehow, many philosophers argue, we have to come to terms with this fear. We have to figure out how we as individuals are going to survive this existential dread, right? Some of us might do this with religion. So we'll turn to a god. I was gonna say, like, there's a theo word that describes it. But, like, we'll turn to whatever. We'll turn to an idol of some sort. Place our faith in them and decide that in devoting our living selves to them, after we die, we will be taken care of. Is one argument for why religion even exists, right? Another is that we will just refuse that we will ever die. So although you can say, like, yeah, I know I'll die, you won't act with death in mind. You'll refuse it in your day-to-day, right? So when I decide to laze about, or when I decide to like do anything, I'm not doing anything with, like, the information that I'm going to die as a pertinent factor. Like, I will completely ignore and shun the idea of death as long as I am physically able. But, you know, this like fear of death and fear of change, fear of the unknown, is like a core tenet of what it means to be human. And so this is kind of this is something that really plays a big factor in Koizumi's outlook. He's terrified that the world may change in a way such that he will cease to be because of Haruhi's existence, right? And so in the main timeline, excuse me, in the main timeline, he's an Esper. He has, like, magical powers, essentially, with which he combats these like giants, and this, at least he believes, causes the world to not change at the whims of Haruhi in a meaningful manner, right? So rather than having the world be completely destroyed by these monsters due to Haruhi's withering mental state, he posits, he, along with the other people from the organization, which is what it's called, go and defeat these monsters. So he has a place in this world. He understands what he can do to fight back against the world being destroyed. And another thing that he can do is to kind of guide Kyon, right? Because Kyon can manage Haruhi better than anyone else for some reason. And so Koizumi, in guiding Kyon and kind of, puppeteering him into leading Haruhi down certain paths. Puppeteering might be a bit of a bad faith word, right? Like, we're not sure what Koizumi actually thinks of Kyon. Does Koizumi like Kyon, or is he just puppeteering him? We don't really fully understand because he keeps his life so secretive. But the idea is that Kyon is being, at least in some way, made to act in ways that are causing Haruhi to keep the balance in order and maintain the way that life already is. So in having this role and in conceptualizing Haruhi as the thing that can create change, Koizumi is convincing himself, at the very least, that he has a very large amount of control over the world in which he presides as a mortal who will inevitably, out of his control, die one day. And so this control that he exhibits over Kyon and that he exhibits with his superpowers over these monsters kind of keeps him sane, right? So in this alternate universe, he is still terribly afraid of change, but the change he's afraid of is a lot more on the nose. So he has a big old crush on Haruhi Suzumiya, and he can tell that Haruhi doesn't really care about him in that way at all. Haruhi really just keeps him around as like a sort of like acquaintance friend. And rather than trying to push his luck, he just tries to maintain the status quo as much as he can. He doesn't make any loud noise. He doesn't really posit his own opinions. He just agrees with everything that Haruhi says, and he'll do whatever she wants. I think this kind of behavior is just really interesting because he's in love with Haruhi and wants to kind of tiptoe around her to make sure that everything stays the same so he can spend more time with her, which is a more childish high school version of the same existential dread that he's dealing with in the main timeline. And this parallel is just so fascinating to me. I think it's so cool, and it's just something beautiful that is in the movie. Technically it's from the light novel, right? But it's just really cool to see this other way that you can kind of play out the same themes of being just mortified of change and trying to convince yourself that you have any semblance of control over the situation, when in reality, necessarily as a mortal, you don't. If you're trying to maintain a friendship with someone, and the reason you're doing it is because you don't want the relationship to change, and you're too stressed about that, then you're completely forfeiting all control you actually have over the friendship. You're not showing them who you are and having a good time, right? If I, for example, was really, 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 really stressed about keeping Dusty as my friend, and I just kind of tiptoed around her, I would end up being a blank slate and, paradoxically, end up pushing her away, right? And it makes me wonder if he's kind of doing the same thing in the main timeline. Is his complete insistence on not challenging Haruhi actually keeping the world as it is? Or is he actually, oh my god, this is awesome. This is awesome. This is so cool. So, this is my understanding that I'm coming across right now. Koizumi, he is so careful around Haruhi in the main timeline. He just says whatever she thinks is cool and agrees and agrees and agrees. And Haruhi finds the world super boring everyone she goes up to isn't interesting enough for her, really, until Kyon. Because Kyon is a bit of an a-hole, and he just kind of disagrees when Haruhi is being a brat. He doesn't really, like, fight back on everything that he should, right? So he doesn't come across as if he's nagging, you know? And what I mean by this is, in the way that a lot of early 2000s anime do, there's, like, some weird, like sexual jokes in there where, like, Haruhi is, like, kind of harassing this girl, and it's played off for laughs. Everyone recognizes it as something bad, but everyone has a reason that they don't interfere. And I think it just tells you a lot about the characters. So, you know, it's, like, done in a more deep and, like, interesting way than I think it normally is when it's just, like, haha, like, funny sexual thing in an old anime that you just have to ignore. But at the same time, I'm not going to defend it and say that it's not really, really gross to, like, watch a character, like, sexually harass another character. But you understand what I'm saying. Like, there are things to, like, take away from it, regardless. And, dude, why did I bring this up? Oh, so, like, he, like, Koizumi will not stop Haruhi from, like, messing with Mikuru. He won't stop Haruhi from deciding that they're gonna go do some crazy thing. He'll just be like, alright, that sounds like a great idea, and he'll try to accommodate it in any way possible. And what he understands that to be is, like, maintaining Haruhi's happiness. And in maintaining Haruhi's happiness, her mood won't shift so much, and, no closed spaces will open and the world won't be destroyed, basically. Just to, like, really make it concise. Kyon, on the other hand, really challenges Haruhi. Now, Kyon does not challenge Haruhi on everything. He doesn't challenge her when she, like, messes with Mikuru, or, you know, does things that are objectively bad, right? So he doesn't come across as, like, a nagging, like, annoying person like everyone else would. But he'll challenge Haruhi when she's just being, like, annoying to him. And that level of realness is something that Haruhi really values as a person. And she's like, wow, this person, like, treats me as if I'm not crazy, you know? Like, when I say I want to see an alien, he's like, I don't know, maybe there's an alien, but he also is, like, not afraid to talk to me as if I'm a real person. And those two things make Haruhi, like, really take an interest in him, and as such, not be so flat about life. Like, she sees the world as so gray and drab and boring until Kyon comes along. And what's interesting is she's like, I need aliens, espers, and future people for the world to not be boring. But what actually makes the world not boring for her is Kyon and his existence in her life. So, whatever. The gist is, I think in, like, tiptoeing around Haruhi, Koizumi is paradoxically creating the problem that he's trying to avoid. In the same way that, by tiptoeing around Haruhi when he has a crush on her, he's, like, not showing her his personality, and as such, probably causing her to not really care about him. So I think the parallels in the ways that these characters function are really fascinating. It's just so cool. But yeah, so this alternate universe, you get the idea. It exists, and the characters are similar but different. In that the magical powers of Haruhi are not present in this universe. There's a spin-off show called The Disappearance of Nagato Yuki, where it basically, because, Kyon chooses to go to the universe in which Haruhi is Haruhi, and there are magic powers and whatnot. This spin-off show is basically like, here's what the universe would look like in a world where Hyun, like, left the world as this new timeline where no one has the powers or anything. And I was so interested in the Disappearance that I decided to watch this show. I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. Let's see how the Disappearance of Nagato Yuki goes, because I loved Haruhi Suzumiya. All the reviews of Nagato Yuki were bad, and I was like, whatever, I'm gonna watch it anyways. Dude, this show was bad. There were 4 episodes that were really good, and they were like random. It was like, you watch, it's a 16 episode show, and episodes like 10 through 12 are randomly awesome. Like, it's just a boring slice of life where Nagato kind of like is into Kyon, and then they have like a relationship that kind of blossoms. And you just get to see this like slowly transpire. You get to see them like get close, and like maybe they're like gonna fall in love, and then like there's like an inciting event, blah blah blah. Nagato reverts to the Nagato from the like first timeline. So like now she is the humanoid interface for the thought entity again. Or at least her personality is. She's not like actually whatever. She's not actually like connected to it, because the thought entity doesn't exist in this universe or in this timeline. But she like reverts back to the other personality, and it's like really fascinating. And the things they do with it are really cool. And it's the disappearance of Nagato. Like the Nagato Yuki that they knew is gone, and it's so cool. It's so cool. Really, really, really awesome stuff. And it's just 4 cool episodes in like a drab, dry desert of boring TV show. And it was disappointing, man. It was disappointing. I think I gave it an exact 5. I think I gave it a 5 for average. Because, was it really cool at parts? Yes. Was it also a just below average, like, rom-com? Yes. And the parts that were good, were they, like, justified? Like, did we have, like, a really strong plot to back them up and, like, allow us to really explore the themes like we did in The Melancholy or Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya? Like, not really. We didn't really have a great backbone to support the cool ideas that were being explored. So, all this is to say, I think I gave it an exact 5. Like, just disappointing, man. But what a beautiful show. What a beautiful show The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya is. What a beautiful movie The Disappearance of Nagato Yuki, The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya is. What stand out, like, absolute, because there's some real influential things that maybe don't stand the test of time as well, right? Like, one of the most influential shows in all of anime is Urusei Yatsura, right? And the reason that this is so influential is, like, the sexy lady on the front, basically. Like, that's why it's so influential. It's like the beginning of, like, waifus. And this is absolutely not me saying that Urusei Yatsura is bad. But it is me saying that, by modern standards, she's so ugly. Just the way that she is drawn is mega ugly by modern standards. She doesn't work as, like, a thirst trap character in the modern era if you watch the original show. It simply does not stand the test of time in the way that let's say, Evangelion does, right? But, man, like, Haruhi absolutely smashes it out of the park. Haruhi, like, inspired anime for, like, the rest of time. The Disappearance, too. And you can totally see why. There is just beautiful, artful stuff woven into the whole show in ways that I have not seen done in any other anime. Just like background characters, man. Like, who cares about Koizumi in the Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya? Who cares about it? He's just, like, there for the sake of he has to be there, right? The same with Mikuru. And the same with Chizuru. No, what's her name? The frigging, Churyu, I think is her name. Right? The green hair girl, whatever. Point is, like, who cares if they're there? Who cares if they're there? But, like, even though they really don't matter that much, Koizumi is, like, treated with such care and beauty, and, like, they completely adapted his character and his, like, fundamental driving force into an entirely new concept, in just a way that you wouldn't expect from really any anime, you know? Like, if I'm watching an alternate timeline and one of the characters is, like, you know, just, like, I don't know, I just wouldn't expect him to, like, have such care and depth put into the way that his character is handled in, I don't know, it's just so awesome. It shows that, I think, the author really, really understands the, like, philosophical things behind the characters. It proves to me that the author intended for it to be this good, you know? Like, there are a lot of things where it's like, did the author actually intend for this to be as beautiful as it is? You know? When you find the next layer of symbolism, when you've been poring over something for, like, decades, like when we're talking about The Great Gatsby, right? And we find another piece of symbolism that you could understand to be something beautiful. Or when we're reading To Kill a Mockingbird, and we're saying, oh, this little, like, tiny thing that, like, the way they describe this thing shows XYZ because of the way that it mirrors this other thing that's happening, you know? And when you're reading these things, it's kind of difficult to decide. And I know that I'm saying this from the perspective of a complete bozo idiot, and that's why I'm not giving you, like, cool, like concrete examples here, is because there probably is a lot of, like, evidence that a lot of these things are intentional, you know? But at least when you're a kid in your high school English class, there's a lot of doubt in your mind, right? When I'm reading Touching Spirit Bear, I'm like, is this part of the way that he interacts with Spirit Bear really symbolism? Like, or are we just writing the part where, like, he has a close, like, near-death encounter with the Spirit Bear again? Like, is this bit of wording actually meant to carry what my English teacher is telling me it carries? Is the author so skilled that I am meant to believe that every word chosen carries more meaning than it does simply ripped from the dictionary or the thesaurus? Am I meant to relate, like, the description of the bear's claws to the ways in which this main character has like, been coping with their sins? Is that what I'm meant to do? And I feel confident in the way that Koizumi is handled in The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, that the author really understands the fundamental, like, building blocks that make up the way that Koizumi functions in this world philosophically. Like, the absolute fear of change and the insecurity that's hidden behind the exterior that we see from Koizumi. Like, Koizumi isn't just the the prototypical anime mysterious guy that has a lot of information and like won't tell the protagonist because the protagonist has to figure it out, and that's what's important. It's like that they figure it out. Like, there's more to Koizumi. The reason that he doesn't say things is because he doesn't like to get involved, because he feels that the less involved he gets, the more control he's exerting over the situation. And the reason he feels that way is because he's terrified. And he's wrong in this. He's wrong. If he tried to exert a little more control, he would probably have a little more control. He's just wrong. And that's proven by the way that Kyon interacts with Haruhi and the way that this changes the world. The way that this doesn't change the world, one might say. I think that the way that the author shows an alternate version of this, where he's so scared to talk to Haruhi because of a crush, the way that the author shifts this like theological undying fear of change from like the mortal fear of death to instead the fear of like the girl he likes not wanting to hang out with him anymore, is just beautiful. It shows a complete understanding of all the deeper themes of what was written, and it makes me feel confident that like this, you know, this is a really artfully done show. There's a lot to dig into here, and when we're digging into it, it's valid. We're seeing what the author wrote, rather than seeing like what we want to see because we think that this is something beautiful, and we see the way that it's been portrayed in the anime, and we see similarities with things, right? We've seen how beautiful the emotion can be when portrayed by people who have just an absolute artistic talent and skill. I don't think that we're pushing when we're trying to see the beauty in this work, is what I'm saying. I think we're seeing what the author created. And that's really awesome, I think. And what's sad is that, like, I'm putting this out there, and I don't think anyone will ever see it. Like, no one will hear what I have to say about this. And the reason is because I personally am not driven to write about it. There's no goal. There's no draw for me. The creating of it itself isn't a joy. Having the thoughts, sharing the thoughts with the people around me, talking about it, teaching about it, that's fun. But organizing these thoughts into a paper, a book, a video, in a way that does justice to the subject, it's just not something that I am going to derive joy from. Because could I write something that generally describes what I'm talking about and have fun with it? Yes. But if I did, it would be so riddled with errors and missed opportunities and just an obvious lack of effort. Not that it's low effort, but that there's a lack of effort that could be there to make it better. It would just be riddled with it. And because of that, I'll just never make this. I'll never make this into a form that it'll be seen by people that are interested in Haruhi. And I think that's a little bit sad. Because, you know, I finished the movie and I was like, wow, I really can't wait to go online and see what, like, all the people that analyze this are talking about. Because, you know, you look up Hunter x Hunter. There are people talking about, like, the way that themes in Hunter x Hunter work all over the internet. There are people talking about the way that Evangelion works all over the internet. Although a lot of the people that are analyzing Evangelion are wrong. Well, okay, it's mean to say wrong. They're interpreting it how they're going to interpret it, but I haven't found anybody that, like, I've only seen one person who really, like, I was like, oh yeah, like, you're totally, I see what this is, like, I understand what you're saying, this is right. Whatever. The point is, like, I wanted, when I finished the movie, to go online and see people talking about things like the way that Koizumi's existential dread is adapted into high school life, you know? Or see people talk about the deeper things, like how we could have seen the whole time that Nagato was emotional, even from the very beginning, because of the way that she reads. I want to see things like this, as opposed to people going online and saying things like, guys, secretly this movie is about Nagato, even though they told you it was about Kyon. You know? I just feel frustrated, and it's sad that I'm not going to fill that niche, because I see so much beauty in this film, and I wish so desperately to share it. I wish so desperately to share it. I'm going to add a new spoiler warning to the beginning of this video. That talks to my friends. I'm going to tell my friends that, I'm going to tell my friends in this spoiler thing that I'm going to be talking about the disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya, and that I really beg them to not watch this video until they've watched it. And that they're just going to have to miss one Peg Wednesday, they're going to have to miss one PEGCAST. They're going to have to miss one PEGCAST if they haven't seen it yet. They're just going to have to miss one. Because this is truly just an unbelievable show and an unbelievable film with so much depth in it. And I just want so badly for the Penguins to hear what I have to say about this and to talk about it with me and to do some thinking about it. Because I want so desperately to talk about this series with someone who gets it. You know? But I want to speak with someone who has their own ideas, or doesn't have their own ideas yet, about what stopped the Endless Eight. I want to, like, talk about it with someone. And I felt really bad because Cammy didn't like the show because she didn't like Haruhi. But I want to talk about it so bad. It's like, it's just, I think it would be a disservice to not call this, like, at least in my top 3 anime, right? And the reason I don't say top 1, even though I'm so passionate about it, is because I like the other anime for different reasons, right? Like, in terms of fun to watch, is Haruhi top 3? No. But, you know, like, if K-On! Is my favorite anime, and Hibike Euphonium is my second, like, I don't think anything is going to change that. I really love and find beauty in the way that that female friendship is portrayed in Hibike Euphonium, even if it comes across as queer baiting. I find so much beauty in it, and I feel like it resonates with me so much that, you know, like, that holds it above Haruhi for me, because I have that and, like, the way that resonates with me, on top of just the fact that I think it's such a beautiful show. Right? But whatever. The point is, I like it. I like Hibike Euphonium a lot, And also, I think the female friendship thing is beautiful, so I have, like, something to think about externally, like, outside of the show. And I love K-On! Because it just makes me happier than anything else. And the values of K-On! Are about the values that I hold as a person. And, like, how much I feel like having fun and being friends with people and loving are, like, just the most important things to do. But, you know, whatever, man. The point is, even though I feel so passionately about the melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, and I could talk about it, like, as long as anything except Pokemon. Like, I could talk about the melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya literally forever. It's the thing that most grabs my attention and doesn't let go. But I still would not give it probably top 1 or 2 anime. And that's because it just, like, it scratches a different itch. K-On! Is the most fun and is about the things that I value the most. Hibike Euphonium also is about female friendships and about interpersonal relationships and growth, and I resonate a lot with it. And also, I just think it's super beautiful. So, this show, which the themes of it are not the ones that I live my life by, it just will not be my top 2 shows, but I think it'll be my 3rd. It's beautiful. Thank you guys for listening. I hope that one fan of the disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya watches this video at 2 times speed or something and gets something from it. Whether the points that I said were whether they made any sense or not, whether they were just, like, gibberish. I hope that, like, something I said made sense and resonated with somebody, and they were like, "Huh, Koizumi is cool," you know. So I'm gonna record a little intro for this video in a moment. But everybody comment below, because I know that all my friend Penguins, I know that you've seen the show if you've seen this episode. Otherwise, I'm cross with you. So comment below, am I to be cross with you? Am I to be cross with you? If you have not watched The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya and you watched this, I want you to comment below, Batpeg, you are to be cross with me, for I did not watch The Disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya before listening to this PEGCAST. And if you did watch The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya before watching this and The Disappearance, then comment below if you think there's any beauty in the movie after all. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. Comment below, do you think there's any beauty in it? Like I do, in the same vein? Anyways, guys, that's going to be the end of this episode. Make sure to like and subscribe to others. Goodbye.